The art of necessary conflict. Why the quiet man always loses the war. We join the Fab Four in a group conversation. Jung is speaking. Buddha, Machiavelli, and Stoics. The folks of our time, the ones who watch this channel, they are trapped in a quiet agony. They chase peace at all costs. But what they get is a false calm, a slow, silent, slow motion decay of their own spirit. Machiavelli responds, a false sense of peace is merely a prolonged surrender, Jung. They mistake stillness for strength. They avoid the necessary confrontation, the necessary conflict, only to find that their internal state is in constant warfare. They fear the minor skirmish and lose the grand campaign of their lives. Buddha responds, they are caught in a web of attachment to a specific outcome, to being liked, to avoiding discomfort. The refusal to engage in conflict is simply the avoidance of pain. And yet, my brothers, that very avoidance is the greatest suffering. And the Stoics offer this. The suffering is rooted in a failure of courageous rationality. They have placed the externals, the other person's reaction, the potential loss of a job, the momentary discomfort, as being within their sphere of interest and control. They forget that their only duty is to speak the truth with virtue. Now, let's look at the dark origin of conflict avoidance. I'm seeing something in the eyes and in the eyes of a great many people in this age. It's not defeat, not exactly. It's a deep, weary tension. It's the feeling of walking on eggshells in your own life, in your own home, at your job, and even in your own head. We're talking today about the art of necessary conflict. It's the one skill they forgot to teach you. They taught you to compete, to hustle, to be a team player. And they never taught you how to draw a line in the sand without blowing up the whole beach. And the core issue, you're trading your integrity for a fleeting feeling of peace. Think about it. Why do you hate confrontation? It often boils down to a trauma-conditioned fear. Maybe you had a parent who exploded, or a boss who crushed dissent. That child part of you learned a terrible, dark lesson, that speaking your truth equals danger. Now, let's look at the invisible cage that you've been living through. You've probably been living by the mantra of happy wife, happy life, or don't rock the boat, get the bonus. That's not a life. That's a false peace. And every time you bite your tongue, every time you nod when you should shake your head, you're not keeping your peace. You're simply signing a promissory note for a future resentment. That unexpressed anger, that suppressed boundary, it doesn't disappear. It turns inward. It becomes anxiety, burnout, and a quiet contempt for the very people that you are trying to please. It is a slow, silent soul murder. Tell me one area, in family, work, or relationship, where you constantly bite your tongue. You are not alone. The goal isn't to become a belligerent jerk, believe me. The goal is to become a person whose peace is earned and not purchased with silence. If this message is getting through to you, hit the like button. Now, the round table debate, the conflict as creation. Here is the heart of the matter. Let's see how our four masters approach this agonizing choice between conflict and peace. First, Jung. The avoidance of conflict is the avoidance of the shadow. What the young man truly fears is not the other person's anger. He fears the hostile part of himself that he has repressed. When he steps into conflict, he must face his own capacity for anger, for aggression, for being the bad guy. He needs to integrate that necessary aggression. The shadow must be acknowledged and used as a source of clarity and assertiveness, not just destruction. When you refuse to assert yourself, you project the role of the aggressor onto others, and your world becomes full of people seemingly attacking you. The boundary is where the self is found. Machiavelli speaks next. Jung, your psychological truth is sound, but it lacks tactical utility. The young man isn't afraid of his shadow. He's afraid of losing power. To avoid conflict is to surrender control before the battle even begins. He must understand that power is not merely taken. It's often preserved by denying its borders or by defining its borders. The prince must be both a lion and a fox. The fox avoids traps by seeing them, but the lion must be feared enough to ensure his territory is respected. When you set a boundary, you are not asking for permission. You are stating a consequence. Learn to deliver the necessary truth coldly, clearly, and without emotional investment. Your goal is not harmony. Your goal is the effective maintenance of your sovereignty. Now Buddha speaks, addressing Machiavelli, and he says, Machiavelli, your method focuses entirely on the outer form, on power and sovereignty. But the approach only creates new attachments and new suffering. We must look to the root of the suffering, which is greed, hate, and delusion. The Stoics and I agree. The conflict is not the enemy. The craving for a specific conflict-free result is the enemy. When a man sets a boundary, he should do so with metta, with loving kindness, not as a weapon of self-preservation, but as a commitment to truth that allows both parties to see the reality of the relationship. A clear boundary, even if it ends a relationship, is ultimately a step towards a less delusional life for everyone involved. Now the Stoics speak. Buddha, your wisdom is transcendent, but for the man struggling with his boss's demands, a simple premeditation of evils is a more accessible tool. He fears the outcome. Very well. Visualize the worst-case scenario. You speak your truth. You lose the relationship. You lose the job. Is the loss of the external thing worse than the loss of your own integrity? The answer is always no. Our duty is to act with courage and justice, 2 of the 4 cardinal virtues. Conflict avoidance is a failure of courage. The outcome is indifferent. Your choice to act virtuously is the only good. Do not worry about the other's reactions. That is not your business. Focus on the precision of your statement and the purity of your intent. Now, the grand results from the dark circumstances. Do you see the grand tapestry we've woven? Jung tells you your own anger. Machiavelli tells you to use clarity as power. Buddha tells you to detach from the outcome. And the Stoic tells you to act with virtue, regardless of the cost. The moment we speak, you're standing there. Your partner just made a dismissive comment about your dream. Your boss just asked you to work an 80-hour week for the 5th time. The old programming clicks in. Your mouth gets dry. Your heart's pounding. You have an urge to retreat. This is the moment. the dark circumstance. This is the moment where the hero either retreats or advances. If you retreat, you live in the shadow of that compromise. If you advance, you face the fire. And the fire, my friend, is where steel is forged. And a surprise epiphany: the conflict you were avoiding is actually the most generous thing you can offer a relationship. Why? Because you are presenting the other person with the unvarnished truth of who you are and what you require. You are giving them the dignity of choosing to meet the real you. And this is the grand result. If they respect the boundary, the relationship becomes real and sustainable. You gain peace. And if they fight the boundary, they are fighting your existence. You gain clarity and the courage to leave what diminishes you. Either way, you win. You reclaim your sovereignty, that's Machiavelli. Integrate your soul, that's Jung. Act with virtue, that's the Stoics. And end the craving for a false peace, that's Buddha. You come from behind, from the dark prison of silence, to win the ultimate prize, your self-respect. Have a necessary conversation that you've been putting off with someone. Write it down first so you're clear on what you need to say. Practice it a couple times and then go deliver it. Now, the 3-step process for necessary conflict. First, wisdom is nothing without practice. Use this simple template for any conflict. State the data, not the judgment. This is Stoic clarity. Say these things. I noticed the last 3 project deadlines required me to work over the weekend. Or, I noticed that when we discuss money, your tone often becomes critical. State your emotion and your boundary. This is Jung and Buddhist truth. When that happens, I feel deeply disrespected and burned out. And my boundary is I will leave the office at 5 p.m. on Fridays. Or I need to have a conversation about rebalancing my workload. Or, in relationships, I love you. But when the conversation becomes critical, I need to pause and step away for 30 minutes. I can resume when we're both calm. State the positive path forward. This is Machiavellian efficiency. I want this project to succeed, so let's discuss a realistic distribution of tasks now. Or, I want to solve this issue with you, and I know we can do it if we approach it with respect. This approach is unemotional, clear, and unyielding. It transforms conflict from a chaotic fight into a structured negotiation of reality. You are a man or woman in their prime. You do not need to whisper. You need to draw the sword of truth, not to destroy, but to defend the sacred territory of your own life. That courage is what turns a good person into a wise person. Now go, be honest, be clear, and be the architect of your own peace. Please like and subscribe. Share this. Leave your comments. Let others learn from your life and your lessons. Thank you. We'll see you on the next video.